We've got 30 days left until the NFL season starts, and I got a lot of drafts to get in. So I am already in an Underdog Fantasy Best Ball Mania 4 room, $3 million to first place. Of course, we are drafting teams here on the Splash Play channel 5 days a week here until the season starts, trying to get it in good. I know Peach Stream is still going on, of course. So I appreciate everybody watching live, and even more appreciate everybody watching after the fact as well. We are going to wait. We got one spot left to fill in this one. So if you want to get in with me, please do it now. Otherwise, hold your peace, I guess. The best way to put that. Shout out to everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. Of course, the grind doesn't stop here. The training camp news doesn't stop. All the buzz out there. And I got to say, guys, this isn't going to be a flex. This isn't going to be me bragging about my knowledge versus anybody else. But this is the time of year, guys, as I'm drafting in the non-influential 12-hole. This is the time of year where I'm already feeling like my takes are starting to materialize. George Pickens rave reviews at training camp. Of course, Terrace Marshall rave reviews at training camp. Christian Watson rave reviews. Luke Musgrave rave reviews. And of course, the gold of it all, the diamond at the end of it, Anthony Richardson. Apparently some Colts reporters out there thinking he is now, I wouldn't say a lock to start week 1, but barring something egregious, in line to start week 1. So things are looking pretty good. Also looking pretty good in this draft room. I am noticing that there are, in fact, no badges in here. We do have our guy Jeremy, the icon, in the 5-hole. So this is going to be a wild one, guys. Perhaps a lot more sniping in this room. Perhaps some weirdness going on in this one. But I appreciate everybody who's hanging out and appreciate everybody willing to draft with me, if they're in the chat or not. Shout out to James here. Good afternoon, GM to our guy Bindles. 3 drafts, 5th pick, all of them today. The random number generator working well for Jeremy. And of course, I am due to get some end of round drafts down this home stretch because I've been a lucky boy. I've had my share of 101s this draft offseason. Let me check my Justin Jefferson exposure, but was at 12% last week. Don't recall getting any 101s or many 101s last week. So I'm at 11% Jefferson overall. And still 12% in BBM, rounding up there to 12% in BBM. So I've gotten lucky in my 101 so far. And obviously that's going to come down here, as it always does. If you're trying to put in 150 entries or even 100 entries, you're going to start to see those numbers start to even out a little bit more across all the picks. Go Easy Cards in the chat as well. Happy Monday, GM. Yes, always a joyous day here, streaming some drafts on the Splash Play channel. But also, I'm feeling reinvigorated here. Had a nice weekend off. Had a day without having to do any childcare on Saturday, thanks to my loving partner / wife, Alex. Did a great job taking care of the baby on Saturday, so I kind of didn't have to do anything. She's heading out of town this weekend for a bachelorette, and I'm going to be full dad duty. I'm going to be dadding harder than anybody. And Luke is going to have to learn to do some DraftKings drafts because I got to... Got to make up a bunch of those. Still have to fill. This is my 112th draft in Best Ball Mania 4. Of course, I've had a lot more drafts over the course of the entire offseason. I think we have now safely crested past 600 overall drafts done, which feels disgusting, but also that is the kind of takes you're going to get here. But on DraftKings, I still have to hit, I think, 75 drafts more, maybe 76 more. So DraftKings to me going to be a big focus here. We'll, of course, do a DraftKings stream later on this week. But the primary thing here we're going to be doing, always going to be Underdog, always going to be BBM4. I foresee a CD Amon-Ra St. Brown start here. That is certainly possible. Would not have an issue with that. Does seem like Diggs is falling for reasons unclear in this room. And again, this is a no badge room, so prepare for some different things here. I know my pal Pete wrapping up his stream right now on his channel. Make sure to check that out if you get any time to watch Best Ball Breakfast, one of the preeminent streaming franchises out there. But his drafts are definitely piss boy rooms full of badges, full of guys that know how to draft and hit pockets and align their teams. And here we get guys taking Nick Chubb at the 11, Bijan at the 8, and we are going to take Diggs. This is no chance I'm not going to take Diggs here. Falling to the 12 hole, that does not happen very often. And now we have to ask the question here. If I were to rate all these guys, Lamb, Wilson, Amon-Ra, I do feel like a CeeDee Lamb pairing is the most rare, but he's probably my least favorite out of that trio. So I am, in fact, I think going to take Amon-Ra here. So we're going to pass up the week 17 correlation. I've tweeted about it. I am going to get back to my fantasy football take tweeting today, just because honestly, it's hard for me to force the takes now that we've had a little weekend. And I'm also saving the Anthony Richardson take that I'm going to tweet out until he's officially announced a starter, and then I can really dunk it home about how right I've been on him all season long. But for the most part, to me, Amon-Ra is a guy that I do think can be a wide receiver 1 this year. A lot of great reports out of Detroit with the target concentration really funneling towards Amon-Ra and also Sam Laporta. So this team, I think, will be one where I would love to get a Jared Goff triple stack with a Monra, with Jahmyr Gibbs, and also with Sam Laporta today. Laporta's ADP has been hard to pinpoint. I think in this room, especially where you do have the non-badge drafters, you're going to see stuff like this, guys just kind of reaching around to get their own players. So we'll see if we can get Sam Laporta in this one. But for me, Sam Laporta, a guy that I have a good amount of, but really would like to prioritize before I think this ADP starts to jump even more over the next 30 days. Laporta to me, yeah, I got 15% Laporta in BBM right now. I would love to get that to an even 16% by the time we max out all 150. Of course, go AZ. I'm here. I'm always kind of giving my takes right in line with you. Same brain wavelength, all that stuff. Just forgot to put up the plug here. How could I not do a stream without a plug for Underdog there down below? Use the promo code SPLASH to double your deposit up to $100 on Underdog. A great way to build your bankroll as well as give yourself some free entries. Obviously, 4 entries in BBM will cost you $100. Use that promo code. You can get 8 entries in, which is about as good as you're going to get at this stage of the game. Diggs at 12. I feel like I need to draft most bullets next year from mid-July to mid-August. Draft seems so soft lately. That is certainly something where, I would advocate for that. I think, as I mentioned on stream, I think that you should be drafting basically the moment these tournaments open, and you should be drafting until they lock. That's ideally the best way to do it. A barbell strategy people have talked about a lot, of course, in the industry, where you draft a lot heavier on, where the ADPs haven't fully solidified. The problem with that is that you're going to end up with a lot more dead roster spots, obviously. As you draft closer to the season, you're going to have less dead roster spots, but the knowledge base of everybody starts to go up a little bit more. So that's sort of the risk profile of it all. To me, I think trying to keep an even keel, trying to keep a straight line in terms of maxing out your drafts is what I like to do. Definitely had a little bit less drafts, I think, in July, just because of the nature of being in Puerto Rico for a week. And just, frankly, too, a little bit of work stuff going on, all that. But point being, I think that overall, my ideal drafting strategy would be to try to keep it as a straight line, but really make sure you still have some bullets left for August either way. I know some people have already maxed out BBM as of July, or maybe even as of right now, and I don't think that's the right way to do that. You certainly want to make sure you get all your entries in before the tournament fills. But for the most part here, again, just the information gap that we'll have that starts to close a little bit more in August. If you're really up on news and really paying attention to the training camp, who's running with the 1s, who's running with the 2s, who's getting increased opportunity, like a Jalen Hyatt be a good example of that. Now is, I think, probably your ideal window to draft if you are paying attention to all that stuff. And if you're not paying as much attention, then the last week where you kind of have everything already really spelled out for you by even the ESPN tier of reporting, I think that's when the more common drafters will be, and also when there's be a lot more information to draft without you having to do the legwork. Thought Waddle might make it back. It's certainly possible in a lot of these rooms, but Waddle, hard to expect to make back to at any point. Waddle's been one of the buzziest names all offseason long. Certainly got its risen in ADPs as well all offseason long. So I think Waddle, to me, hard to get those Tyreek Waddle pairings at this stage of the game. So any ones you got early on, that's one of the biggest lessons for me. Was I was kind of thumbing my nose at some of the Tyreek and Waddle shares because of how chalky they seemed like they were, with how easily it lined up with ADPs. And now it's like you really have to get lucky in a room to end up with Tyreek and Waddle in the same area. I was kind of hoping that Josh Allen might fall all the way back to me. It sometimes happens in the badge rooms. Of course, without badges here, hard to expect that. Our guy Jeremy takes him in the 5 spot anyway. I don't know. I don't love an unstacked Josh Allen. We know that, but certainly no expectation on my end to be able to get Josh Allen all the way back at pick 36. That'd be asking a lot of this room. Though, again, as I will say here, it's not collusion if I whisper into a microphone, hey, maybe let Josh Allen fall. It's up to you guys then to make that choice, whether you want it to happen or not. We'll see what we get on the way back, though. Nobody reaching too crazily. I guess Jerry, Judy, Debo, little bits of reach there. So we'll see what values or we get or don't get on the way back. Kind of feels like we're going to get boxed out at receiver for the guys that we'd really like to get. Obviously, there is one receiver who we can see on the screen right now that I never have an issue reaching for, but we will deal with that when we get to our pick. We'll see what San Fran Seahawk. Fuck you. I wanted Jahmyr Gibbs. That would have made a lot of sense for me to get Jahmyr Gibbs there. Oh, you dildos. You don't need, you got Derrick Henry. You don't need Jahmyr Gibbs. Ugh, all right. Let's play the hits. Christian Watson. I'm going to just try to blow this room out at receiver, I think. No badges here means that I do think that these running backs will be hanging around a little bit longer. For these guys, I don't think they're going to reach at receiver quite as much. So London, McLaurin. Who do I like more? I do like McLaurin more. What's my London exposure? Fuck, this is not enough time to be doing this. London, I'm at 7%. I am going to take a Drake London share because I know I am over on McLaurin, but I am not over on Drake London. Not with me. My favorite player, I will not pass up in the third round unless I get some great value saying about Josh Allen. I get the logic of always wanting to take your favorite player, like a Josh Allen. And Jeremy, I'm not saying this to be clear because I wanted Josh Allen to fall back to me. You're well within your rights to take him at his correct ADP. That said, in unstacked Josh Allen, you are rolling into the finals with teams that I built within the last week, where it's Allen, Waddle, Diggs, like leading off. You're going to be dealing with a lot of teams that have Allen stacked late as well. Obviously, you're going to be competing for the Gabe Davis, but Gabe Davis now coming up in ADP, especially on DraftKings, but also on Underdog. So you're competing with those guys. I would not take an unstacked Josh Allen at this point. Like, you're just competing against a lot of teams that are going to be a lot, better than yours, I think. Not specifically about Jeremy, but unstack Josh Allen to me. Like, if you get the Diggs value, great, take Josh Allen. I think besides that, at this point, I think the Josh Allen turf is pretty well covered, and by guys with sharper ADPs, like Cook is coming up, Gabe Davis is coming up. I don't know, Kincaid's coming up, and Kincaid, I love him, but he's going to be coming up here because he's now got some security to his role, and it's only going to increase over the next few weeks. Yo, welcome to everybody here coming over from Pete's Stream. Appreciate you guys here hanging out. Of course, Tyler had a big weekend for himself, going out to Brooklyn, hanging out with the boys, doing the cardio club. So seems like a lot of fun for that one. I, of course, did no card this weekend. Good thing, actually, I didn't commit to doing that because I did strain my calf running right after I did the stream with Pete last week. So I would have embarrassed myself going in there, and it probably injured myself again, as one does when they are pushing their late 30s. Oh, Copper Price is sad. I didn't wait for him. Sorry, Copper Price. The game goes on here. As I told you guys, trying to thread the needle of all the streams going on, because I know, like, Pete's got his franchise. I don't want to compete with that. I know Liam's pushing a stream, I think, at 12. Obviously, me or Liam, watch whichever one you want. Watch the other one afterwards. I think that's a good way to do that. But for all that stuff, I'm going to be here in the 11 o'clock hour sometime and try to, for the most part, defer to Pete's streams. But for myself, we'll be somewhere between 11 and 11:45 is when I'll kick off these drafts every day. Spags rocking that 12 spot. There we go. Just got off Pete's Best Ball Breakfast. I'll take that. I'm happy to have all the stragglers. Bring me your tired, your poor, your duck-fed people. Come all over here from the Best Ball Breakfast if you want. And tomorrow, I think we will be doing the usual Tuesday stream with Pete. And, of course, after that one, I'll be hitting a stream on this channel. And actually might do Spag Stacks tomorrow because I do have to make up one Spag Stacks. And frankly, I think Spag Stacks is the best concept I'm doing right now. I've been putting up really good drafts, I think, stream to stream. But I do want to make sure to get Spag Stacks going and make sure I'm hitting them all in time. So I might do that after the Splash Play stream tomorrow with Pete. I will do a special Tuesday Spag Stacks tomorrow. Here for some good laughs, so don't let me down. No pressure. Oh, hey, did you hear the one about the priest and the little? Nope, can't do that. I'm sure there'll be laughs occurring organically. I won't force myself now, though I do feel the pressure of being a stand-up comedian while doing best ball streams. The Ellis Island of fantasy football. That's true. As somebody, as a proud New York Italian whose family once came through Ellis Island, I'm very happy to be that place for you, to bring me all of your huddled best ball masses. That's what I'm looking for. What draft tracker do I use? So last year I got the freebie from Brick. This year I'm too proud to ask Brick for a freebie again, and he didn't do it organically. So I'm not using a tracker besides just my own looking at the exposures and all of that. I would recommend the Fantasy Life Best Ball Data Hub is a good free one to use if you are like me and don't want to spend extra money on this stuff. Frankly, I'm paying enough in entry fees, and I know how to work around my overall exposures well enough. But would recommend the draftcaddy.com for Brick's tool. Spike Week also has the overlay tool that does a good job if you want to pay money for it. Now would certainly be the good time to do it where you're getting a full month of whatever product you're paying for. But if you don't want to pay money, I would say use the Best Ball data tool on Fantasy Life. I think their data hub is a great one to use for that stuff. Spike straight back to Piss Boy roots. Love to see it. Look, if you want to see me draft some extreme zero RB teams, I did it last week on stream, nailed one. I'm happy to draft different types here. I'm certainly trying to force myself to do a little more of the hero RBs. Obviously been doing that, I think, just because of ADPs all off season, but also been doing some hyper fragile builds on stream this week. But nothing to me ever will feel better as just hitting receiver for 6 straight rounds and then calling off the dogs, going somewhere else. The draft that Pete just did on Best Ball Breakfast, I enjoyed a lot. The all rookie draft. That's one that I talked about last year. All those guys were values. It wasn't like a Bijan going in the first round. But I think there's a lot of value in rookie running backs, rookie tight ends now. People finally coming along to the thing that I've been beating the drum of since January when we first looked at these rookie tight ends. Rookie tight ends are going to matter this year. Rookie running backs are going to matter this year. And I think too, obviously for week 17, you're always playing for that. Certainly going to be a lot of guys in the mix, but like Tank Bigsby has been lights out in Jags camp. Charbonnet now is going to get a chance to show what he can do with Kenneth Walker still banged up. Gibbs is so involved. Like Gibbs, there's at least a fractional chance that he's going to be Christian McCaffrey in terms of the pass game work, if not the overall body work he's bringing to the table. By the way, another thing that we talked about last week, Darren Waller soaring up in casual drafts. Darren Waller, great camp news for him. Been a go-to target for the Giants, but he's 30 plus and a lot of soft tissue injuries and an injury prone history and all that stuff. So get your Darren Waller before it comes up even more, but try to not get it. I think at 57 would be what I would recommend. How many bullets do I plan on doing for the weekly tournament? I am not planning on doing many, if any. It's just a thing for me, bandwidth wise, I don't have a ton. And then also, frankly, like I don't love the format. I don't love the structure. I don't think that it's advantageous for me to throw in a bunch there, especially when I have so many left to hit. I'd rather be drafting my 75 remaining DraftKings entries personally. But I kudos to them for trying something new. It just didn't really appeal to me from the jump. And at this point, we're now deep enough in where if they did another puppy, I'd more inclined to hit that than I would be probably doing weekly winners. And, that might be a blind spot for me, but we'll see. All right. So we got Buffalo, Detroit, Green Bay, Atlanta. Nothing leaping out as a must have for me at this point. Kenneth Walker, an okay value, but I'm definitely more team Charbonnet. I am going to take Marquise Brown with this one, right? No, you know what? Let's take Lockett with this one. And then let's go get our guy. Tremendous camp reports around him. I already have more than enough, but I don't give a shit. Pickens here, correlating for week 17 with Tyler Lockett. Pickens, to me, I've said it this entire offseason, and now I think hopefully we'll see it. Pickens should be like in this Godwin range, I think. Especially with Deontay Johnson coming up now. Like, I don't see Deontay Johnson being 20 picks ahead of Pickens. Pickens was not going to come back to me here. Was not going to last at this point in this room, I think, until 84, 85. So for me, just getting the correlation here, we are now fully extreme zero RB with Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Watson, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens. These are guys certainly have a little bit too much of in terms of Watson and Pickens, but guys I firmly believe in, and I will gladly die on the hill of Christian Watson and George Pickens this year. Say for fucking alpha. I love Watson and Pickens. Like, these are the guys that I think, year 2, huge leap. Offense changing a little bit, and more experience for Kenny Pickett. Jordan Love finally getting out there after years on the bench. Those are good things. But it's really just a talent level, and the fact that these guys, again, were estimated points added rock stars in terms of the key stat that I look at here in terms of advanced analytics. Last year, I'll give the sales pitch one more time, even though I'm sure you guys have heard my Christian Watson and Pickens sales pitches more than enough. But Christian Watson last year, not Deshaun, 0.47 EPA per target, fantastic. At 11.4% receiving DVOA, not quite as stellar, but still Watson, that's the guy that we're talking about Jalen Waddle territory for Christian Watson, but he's not getting drafted like he's Jalen Waddle. Certainly a less downfield offense, but one that I think for Watson, all the downfield targets, or a lot of them, are going to go his way. And it does feel like Jordan Love so far in training camp has been really aggressively targeting downfield. And for Pickens as well, adding to his route tree, really crushing the go routes last year. But overall, 0.38 EPA per target, that puts him in a tier next to Justin Jefferson. Obviously, higher volume for Jefferson. These aren't one-to-one plays, and I'm not saying that. But when you see these signs from guys in year 1, this has been my big bet. It's just relying on the advanced analytics that I think less people have access to. I'm lucky enough to get mine for free through Sports Info Solutions. Has been a great partner to my employers, who are still technically my employers at Football Outsiders. But that's the number I'll live and die by this year. EPA per target, huge one. EPA per drop back, a little easier to find for free for QBs. But definitely stats that I think matter and have portended this being the year that Watson and Pickens can explode and really go up to another tier. And I'm certainly a believer in that. Well, it's going to be this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Different style of gameplay, but certainly in terms of being like the go-to part of that offense, I think that's very much in range. I mean, we saw Watson get a ton of red zone and end zone work last year. We saw him also, again, creating value by himself, just getting out, being willing to break plays or being able to break plays deep. Those are things that matter to me. Those are things that I think add value in terms of your fantasy portfolio. you don't like, I know people hate to hear it, but like, I don't like the Saquons of the world because they're just doing what's handed to him. If Saquon is an average running back with every touch he gets and below average in terms of catching passes with how he performed in terms of the EPA numbers and the DVOA numbers, that means to me that like, if that number isn't there, if that volume isn't there for him, he's a fragile player. I mean, obviously not talking about the health part, but he's a fragile player in terms of his performance. Whereas guys that outperformed every time they got the ball, it's going to be hard to maintain that kind of efficiency as they get more volume. But if that efficiency comes down a little bit and the volume comes up, you're then talking about these guys legitimately being in Justin Jefferson range. They're probably not going to be quite as much of a central part of that offense. But are we talking about, the dollar store version of Justin Jefferson? I think that outcome is very much in range for guys like Watson and Pickens this year, and Amon-Ra too. So I think it's a great year to draft receivers, and it's ironically the year where nobody's going 0 RB. You can see the James Cook rise here in play. This kind of ties back to what I was talking about with Jeremy grabbing Josh Allen unstacked in the third. He's getting Gabe at 68 when guys are getting Gabe in the 80s. You don't get James Cook at all because James Cook is no longer not going in this pocket, 92 and 101 that you could have gotten Cook before. So that's why, to me, taking Josh Allen unstacked is not the move. And I think we're seeing it in real practice. I get liking your guys, but I would say to me, it's hard to not be in a highly duped at better values kind of configuration if you take an unstacked Josh Allen. We're on the clock, though. 2 picks here, 0060. Now we just want to get some running backs in the door. I do think Rachaad White very much fits that criteria, a guy that will probably get a lot of touches. And shitty teams, by the way, can create fantasy value for running backs. That is one thing that there's been some data out there floating around on social media within the last week. And it's something that I do believe in quite a bit as well. Man, really just nobody I want coming up in this range. So we are good at receiver. We're not going to receiver right now. Really hate Alvin Kamara. I think he's going to get cheaper because of the suspension. I'll take Pacheco. This would have been a really nice spot to get James Cook. James Cook is soaring up because of the positive camp reports, breaking some long runs. Really nothing James Cook has done to say that he is a better play now, but his ADP is going to come up because people finally feel some certainty in him being that guy. So the team so far, we have Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco at running back, a receiver, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Christian Watson, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens. So a little bit of week 17 correlation with Lockett and Pickens, and not much else besides that yet. But we'll get it. We'll figure it out. Shout out to everybody joining the chat. Charles, of course, one of our regulars. Appreciate all of our regulars coming in. Appreciate all the new names as well who've been checking out the channel recently as we have been up in the content here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Of course, if you're a lurker in chat and you have your free fingers and you want to type and participate, don't be shy. I certainly can be a little bit brusque, can be a little bit harsh to people that disagree with me. But ultimately, it's all in love here. So I just want you guys to feel empowered to be a part of the Splash Play community. Make it your own, but only in a way that I like. Make it your own. Make it your own. Am I stopping at 6 or taking 7 receivers? So basically, in a perfect world, you would never take another receiver. I do tend to treat it a little bit more fluidly where, like, if a Terrace Marshall's available late and it fits my build, if some guys fall a little bit, if there's like a tremendous ADP value, I will take a 7th receiver. But in a perfect world, you would not take another receiver if you do draft 6 straight like this. Just because you're making a bet here, you're taking a ton of receiver talent. We've gone on a different track where clearly there's nobody else in this room who went 6 straight receivers. So now it should be a point where I hammer running back for 6 straight rounds. I can mix in a QB if I want. But the point is you're really going heavy on the capital early on, and you're dialing back the capital completely. So if I do take another receiver, it won't be until, at least round 12, I would think. But probably not even then. People really want me to put the banner. This is number 112 for me. I said earlier on, I believe. Let me just make sure to confirm. Now you guys are making me question if I'm actually right about how many entries I have in. Yeah, this is number 112 for me. So 112, the R&B group that we all grew up with and loved. Not me being a borderline boomer citing 112, P. Diddy's first R&B group that he had on the Bad Boy Records label. Agree or get shunned. Spags 2023. There we go. It's so damn hard to only take 6 receivers, even if you're loaded. That is true. That is why it is a needle to thread that it is going to get you different from a lot of people out there. And I can tell you, it's one of the mistakes that I made last year that I wish I could walk back a little bit. I mean, you can't change the whole thing. Taking back anything I did last year would probably affect me getting any teams to the finals or whatever. So we could pull that rope if we want, or pull that thread if we want. Point being, though, like, I do think there were a couple times where I went really aggressive 0 RB, and I still then kept taking a few receivers. It's like, oh, this guy's too good of a discount, or I love this guy. If you are going to go like a full radicalized 0 RB, the best way to do it is to hit those receivers early and then just walk away from it, because it is so hard for people to be able to walk away from the table of like a position that they love, especially if they are a 0 RB drafter. They're predisposed to like wide receivers more. So there's going to be guys they like. And when they're sliding ADP values, it's going to be really hard for those guys to not take one of the players they like. So I think when you do this, you're getting not only different from the running back piggies out there, the people that we talk about a lot in these streams that are much easier to gravitate towards the ADPs this year, but you're also getting different from all the radical, from all the other 0 RB guys, even the ones who are obsessives about it. So that to me is the real value. If you're going to hit 6 receivers early, is like, you just don't go back for a while, and you got to have the strength not to do it. Peaches and cream. People know 112. 112. Oh, I wish I had somebody that could sing the title of my band every time that I do something. I guess I would need a band first to make that happen. Man, Tua falling. Crazy that Tua can go at 107. All right, we're on the clock here again. We still need running backs. This is perfect. A.J. Dillon correlates with our Christian Watson bet, so we're now getting the receiver and the stud running back, or the stud receiver rather, and the running back. Love that. Wish I had gotten McLaurin, because it would make it a little bit easier to get Robinson. But instead, we are going to take Charbonnet here, who I still very much enamored with. Again, going to have a chance to make his way in camp without Kenneth Walker, who's still banged up. Kenny McIntosh also got banged up last week. So Charbonnet has now got the runway to win this job, or at least give himself a big share of a job. And even in the athletic reports that have come out with Charbonnet having had a handful of practices so far, didn't even play in their mock game on Friday. Charbonnet is already being like, they're saying, hey, he's going to get touches no matter what. It's just a matter of how much can he take away from Kenneth Walker? Can he unseat him as a starter? I don't think he's going to unseat him as a starter, but I think a 50-50 split between these guys, or 40-40 with 20% going to one of the pass catching backs like DJ Dallas, or going to Kenny McIntosh, I think is firmly in play for Seattle. So the team here, the running back room that we've added, we've got Rachaad White, Pacheco, Dillon, Charbonnet. This to me is a beautiful 0 RB kind of build. It's all, yeah. Jordan Love's music is just playing in my head constantly, like you're on a carousel, and it's just or you're at a circus, and it's do 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 do. That's Jordan Love's music in my head. He is now my number 2 overall exposed QB as of last week. And of course, we'll review my exposures at the end of the week, like I've been doing here. But I am very happy to get Jordan Love wherever I can at this point. Camp reports have not spooked me off. If anything, the fact that the Packers defense has been so good in camp, I think is a positive for Jordan Love, who just needs as close as he can get to game reps at this point. Has had a few, but, and he looked good in the reps that he got last year for Green Bay. But I do think if Green Bay's defense is looking good, Jordan Love being sharpened by the iron of that defense being good could be a positive thing in camp. So Jordan Love, to me, a guy that I'll continue to get here, as I have 12.6% of him right now. Is there good results in the past with wide receiver running back correlation, or is it because one or the other excel depending upon the game scripts? You can cover both sides. It's just really about making a bet on a team. Like if a team is good, a team's going to score a lot of points. So if the Packers are bad, like having Love and having Watson and having Musgrave and having Reed and having Dillon, like that's not great if you're like full alpha stacking the Packers and they're terrible, because bad teams don't score a lot of points. But if the Packers are competitive and in good games, if you can corner that market on their production through the key guys there, and Watson I would say is a key guy. Dillon certainly has some contingent value, as well as just regular touches he's going to get alongside Aaron Jones, or with Aaron Jones active. So I think for these guys, any good outcome for the Packers means these guys are going to be able to get there. But again, if you draft Chris Godwin and Rachaad White and the Bucs are just dead in the water, like that could be a not great correlation. But it's not quite as the same as like DFS, where normally, unless you're fully game stacking a game, you don't want to put your running back with your wide receiver unless they catch passes. For best ball, though, it's just about trying to catch the rising tide of a team being good and scoring a lot of points and winning games. And as a result of that, scoring a lot of points. Yeah, smash the like button so Spags can smash. What does he smash? I mean, he smashes one person and has, unfortunately, for many years in a row. But yes, a good call by Tyler here. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. I don't want to keep your smash comment up here forever while I do the plug, but please, 5 days a week of drafts here on Splash Play, of course. More coming up during the regular season as well. Splash Play fantasy football all year round. That is the goal here. And you will always get my full unfiltered takes, what I am playing, what I think is right. And then if you want to disagree, if you want to fade every single take I put out there, I think it won't be great for you, but yeah, you certainly can do that as well. Enjoy the ride either way, hopefully. So interested to see LaFleur's system with the Rodgers governor taking off. That is where I am at with it too. I think LaFleur has really been stifled creatively by having Aaron Rodgers there. And I think it's one of those things where I initially thought that he was a little bit more of a boomer coach, was just how he was approaching it. But just the language around it, even what happened last year, where clearly there was a lot of acrimony going into last year. I think it's one of those things where he is going to be very excited to be able to show the breadth of his full play calling genius. And now if this team is good, like he gets all the credit. Like you can't go, oh, you have the Hall of Fame QB. Of course your team is like in the hunt at least, if not winning at all. I think that's something for him that I think he's going to embrace that challenge. And I think too, Jordan Love, again, being in the system for years, like he knows everything he can. He's in as good of a shot to succeed as he ever will be. But let's see what he can do. And I've seen enough from Jordan Love to think that he can be good and he's got the weapons around him, a lot of young, high upside weapons. All right, Jared Goff goes, but honestly, it doesn't matter because we didn't get Gibbs. Another great ZORB guy. Elijah Mitchell here. Boom, done. And then we're going to, this is a tough one. I think Tank Bigsby's a smash play who's going to come up. I think Jalen Warren is also a smash play who I love. But Bigsby here, man, I think Bigsby gets to the 120s. Warren probably doesn't have another rise, and I probably have enough Warren. Do we have any reason at all to take Jacksonville? But no, we have the bet on Pittsburgh. So this is a tough choice for me. Maybe I should have skipped Mitchell for once and just gone Bigsby and Warren. I guess I could have gone Algier as well. Definitely a lot of outs here. But if you want to see the case, though, for why I think if you're going to hit aggressive zero RB and then just hit a pocket of running backs, like this is as good of a zero RB room as you're going to find with Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, AJ Dillon, Zach Charbonnet, Elijah Mitchell, Jalen Warren. Contingent value, guys who all have roles. Like, I think this is why you do it. Shout to the OG Kenobi here for the super chat. Thanks, Spags. You always entertain and drop knowledge at the same time. Thank you. I appreciate that. OG1, one of the newer names in chat as well, I think, over the last few weeks that I've seen popping in. So very glad to hear that and very much appreciate the super chats on here. And of course, if you want to support Splash Play, hit the join button down below. I'll review up to 10 teams a month of yours as well. Honestly, it's not a hard and fast rule, but send them to me on Twitter and Discord if you become a member on here. And I'm happy to review your teams and I'll give you real feedback. I know our guy Brandon joined over the weekend, was happy to give him feedback on the team. I've been helping our guy Ross a lot more with some of the ones that he's, just giving guidance on what he's doing. So I think honestly, with some of the teams I've seen from you guys who are Splash Play members, I think it's very much in range that somebody who's on this channel, who's a regular, even if it's not me or Pete or, one of our cherished guests, I think one of you guys can win it all. I think you guys do good drafts. So I'm happy to help you improve those drafts as well if you want. Room Feldy very nicely. Yeah. Tank. Look, I think Tank is a great play, man. Tank was a guy coming in. And the one thing that I wish I'd listened to people more about with Tank was he didn't look great in his numbers, but did avoid tackles pretty well. And that seemed like a thing that I certainly hold in esteem. That's what got me on Tyler Algier last year, was he had a high EPA per rush and also avoided tackles at a high rate. And, the fact that it was BYU gave me a little bit of pause, but not enough to, he was in a really nice spot in Atlanta for that to materialize. For Tank, he wasn't great in those numbers last year, but Auburn's offensive line was so bad that you kind of had to give him some grace. So once he got drafted with decent capital by Jacksonville, I kind of rethought how I was viewing Tank Bigsby, and I've been hammering him since. And I feel like now those bags are starting to make a little more sense with him crushing a camp. But I've got 19% Tank Bigsby, so that's my bags are not packed on him. I'll keep taking him. I would take any of these rookie guys, the rookie running backs that I believe in, up to 24%. I think that's about the range I'm comfortable with. But Tank, to me, just in a really nice situation for himself. And now this room has got a lot of guys with their 2 QBs. We'll see what they do because it is not a badge room. We could see people maybe going to 3 or 4 QBs with a little more regularity. I would like to get some guys here at QB that makes sense for me coming up. But we will see how we handle this room coming up. Definitely nobody coming up eminently on the board that I think I should be worried about getting sniped on. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, Bigsby broke 2 tackles on 70-yarder day. Love either bet, though. I don't love the ATN side of the Jacksonville bet, I have to admit. For the running backs that I chose on screen here, I like any of these guys for the most part. Like, love Jaylen Warren. I've given the case for him enough on stream, I think. But certainly a guy that's going to be in the mix, can take some snaps away from Najee, and is probably more effective than Najee overall. But Bigsby to me is just a guy that I don't think they love ATN. I really strongly believe they don't love ATN. It was a new coaching staff last year. We saw ATN get usage, but they were really trying to get away from him no matter how they could. In the beginning, whether it be with James Robinson, and towards the end of the year with JaMychal Hasty, and then they bring in a bunch of backs, all of whom have looked good in camp. And I got to tell you, you don't hear a lot of camp reports about ATN looking like a world beater out there. You hear camp reports about Ernest Johnson being great. You hear camp reports, obviously, about Bigsby being great. Haven't heard any hasty stuff either, but I think that's something to me where ATN's going to get the first crack at it. But if they don't love him, like, and they were already trying to give touches away last year, I think it's something that ATN is one of my biggest fades of the season, and could be risky, but I just I'm not a big believer. Yeah, I have 1.8% ATN in Best Ball Mania. Not a lot of ATN. He was so bad in the red zone. Yeah. Look, I firmly agree. This is the correct take, I can tell you. Let's look at the numbers though for ATN. Am I off base at all? ATN negative 0.03 EPA per rush, which is not great. 0.8% rushing DVOA, so he's like Saquon. ATN is basically a little bit better in the pass game, so 12% receiving DVOA, 0.06 EPA per target. But I think he's just a volume guy, and if the volume doesn't go his way, I think that there could be some problems for ATN overall. So we could take a 7th running back here, but I feel pretty good at the position, and I don't want to get fucked by these guys with my QB choices. So I am going to take Jordan Love. Should I push? Did the Pickett already go? Pickett didn't go. I don't trust this room. So that's why I'm going to take my QBs here. I love these guys. They're both week 6 buys. All right, so we're going to have to do some surgery on this lineup here down the home stretch. Who else can we take? I could take Ritter late. Okay, that'll work. So we'll do a 3 QB build. Got the QBs out of the way. So here's the team so far. I'll read it out here for our audio listeners. Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett at running back, Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, AJ Dillon, Zach Charbonnet, Elijah Mitchell, Jaylen Warren, and at receiver, Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Watson, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens. We still need to get our tight ends, but we'll have a lot of guys available late to do that. This build to me, hard to say what's going to survive 17 weeks of best ball. Hard to say what's going to even make it to the finals. If you told me that I could advance one team that's built like this to the finals, I would be completely stoked. I love this kind of build for myself. I love being willing to take the risk on later QBs, because that is the one way you could see, look, all the purple here, all the purple early on in these early pockets. Guys taking 2 elite QBs in this room. The way to get leverage on just how ADPs have worked out with QBs is by having Jordan Love hit, by having Kenny Pickett hit, by having Bryce Young be useful, by having CJ Stroud be useful. I think that is the one meta strategy that I will live and die by this year, as you guys have seen with my exposures. I think that just taking later QBs and hoping the stack is what gets you there, I think it'd be a thing that will be a big thing going into the finals or in general. 11 non-badges, you just never know the QB piggies. That is my concern here. You see the 3 guys taking QBs in this range, and it could be them panicking because I took Love and Pickett. But I think for me, it's mostly that, okay, we now have the Pittsburgh double. We have Green Bay. I certainly would like to get a double for Green Bay. I think this is where you don't risk it. And it's the thing that Pete and I have debated as well, where I believe you close up your stacks. Like, you don't need to go crazy. You don't need to reach 20 picks ahead of ADP for everybody. But like, don't give stupid rooms a chance to ruin a good team you built on the back of the stupid room, is how I feel about it. Just take your QBs and then worry about everything else. Do I feel better with elite QB or 3 late QBs? I feel better with 3 late QBs, because this is a thing that, we did research on in Football Outsiders a couple of years ago, and I thought was one of a really informative thing that Football Outsiders doesn't have the track record of covering best ball, and the guy we had doing it, who's now at FTN, is not like a guy that's like, won millions of dollars, so people didn't track it. But what he found from doing his data, and it was Scott Sprouter does a great job with data as well over at FTN now. What he found was that the best value you can have in best ball by going through years of data and combing through it was that you want your QBs to be a lower drafted guy, and then they kind of drive up the value of the entire stack. So Jared Goff last year would qualify. Obviously, he only really drove value for Amon-Ra. If you want to extend that to Jamal Williams, I guess that could be the case too. But guys like that, where it's like a pure pass throwing QB, not even a rusher, but a guy who's going to really generate value. If he gets there, he then, like, if Kenny Pickett gets there, he's going to run a few times, but it's because he threw bombs to Pickett. It's because to Pickens rather. It's because he succeeded with Deontay Johnson, because he fed Allen Robinson, even because he fed Jalen Warren and Najee. That's how Kenny Pickett gets there. So I think that's the way that I would like to draft, is just, how do I find guys who can beat their ADPs and then also help the teammates around them beat their ADPs? And with elite QBs, that's not factored in. So you're just getting more of a general, you're getting a more guaranteed floor and ceiling, but you're also going to get duped a lot more. I mean, like, how many times is AJ Brown drafted with Jalen Hurts? Almost every draft. I mean, it's probably not that high, as we talked about with some of the data that's out there from our guy, Chad Maschke, who's been putting together all the BBM4 data through drafts so far. And he's gotten, I think, 2% of the drafts, maybe 4% of the drafts done. So not a huge number, but still a bigger number than anybody else has. And he's found that people are just not stacking enough. But still, like, if they are stacking, this is what they're stacking. They're doing Brown, Hurts, they're doing Diggs and Allen, they're doing Mahomes and Kelsey. So yeah, this is just one of the hills I'm willing to die on here. And I just, it's hard to force yourself to get exposure to the elite QBs. So that's part of it. Like, I've got 5.4% Allen, 4.5% Hurts, and Mahomes, I've got 7%. So I've gotten there for the most part. All right. So we are now, and we need tight ends, obviously. Is Musgrave's camp going to drive him up enough that I can't get him on the way back? I kind of think so. So I'm going to reach for Musgrave here. Musgrave, again, running all the reps with the first team in the Packers family night over the weekend. That's one that I think people are going to catch up on him. I have enough Musgrave, but in a Jordan Love build, I think Musgrave is a must. And 7th running back, 7th receiver. I think let's get the Green Bay triple. Jaden Reed, too. So we've got Love and Pickett at QB, running back, White, Pacheco, Dillon, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Warren, a receiver, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Watson, London, Lockett, Pickens, Jaden Reed, and then a tight end, Luke Musgrave. Reed, a bit of an ADP discount here, so that looks nice. Musgrave, obviously, I'm reaching for him, but in this room, I think it's possible that somebody saw Musgrave be good over the weekend, and then they could take him in this range, and he wouldn't make back to me here at 204. This is a nice bet on Jordan Love, I think. Packer 8-1 with a late QB build. There'll be somebody from the Carr, Pickett, and Mac Jones rookie QBs rounds that will win somebody $3 million. Hopefully one of us here. I agree. Look, I mean, there's going to be a case for anybody here, and this is part of why my QB exposures have been flat for the most part, besides AR, of course, who I've been happily to stump for and draft whenever I can, and he lines up an ADP. Like, any of these QBs can win you a week. And I think that's the part that I hate about the elite QB discussion and conversation, and then all these guys being steamed up, is that when it comes to just week 17 or even over the course of a season, like, Trevor Lawrence can win you week 17. Deshaun Watson can win you week 17. Richardson can. Tua can. Dak can. Like, any of these guys can. It's just a matter of how does the overall picture come together? Like, how does their number one receiver go? Is their number one receiver going off along with the opposing number one receiver? Is the QB also adding in a rushing touchdown like Tom Brady? Pat didn't have Mike Evans on his team, but he did have Tom Brady, I believe, rushing in a TD, and also having Chris Godwin being good, and then having DJ Moore being good in that game. So that's the thing where really any of these guys can hit. It's just a matter of who's going to have the best matchup. Like, this might sound insane to you guys, but and obviously, you know, the more likely outcome is Jalen Hurts is going to beat Jimmy Garoppolo in week 17. That said, if Jalen Hurts is playing Arizona, and Arizona is a dead in the water team, and they're not even going full go, and Jalen Hurts can have one of those games where he hands off 4 touchdowns, like Miles Sanders had a few times, or, you know, not quite 4, but you get the point. And just doesn't have to do much. Like, is it possible that Eagle stacks get buried by Jimmy G stacks with Devontae Adams and maybe Josh Jacobs and maybe Michael Mayer? Like, I think that's entirely in the range of outcomes, as those guys are playing in a dome in week 17 against a Colts team that's going to put up points and not have a great defense. So ultimately, you know, like, the Dave Kitchen thing, like, he's not saying this to be wise from my understanding of him. I don't know the guy personally. I only know him through Pete and the various other guys in that universe. But like, the you just don't know is the most accurate thing about best ball, I would say. You just want to build teams that can survive 16 weeks and then be there for you in week 17 and give yourself a chance to correlate and jump everybody else. And you know, that's what I build. That's what I try to build every time out. feel like it's easier to draft once you have your stacks. That's also true. That is also absolutely going to be true. And that's part of why too. Like, I think that sometimes people like to put stuff off to the end, and it's like, oh, I'll get my week 17 correlation at the end, or I'll get my stack at the end. And it's like, yeah, but if you get it earlier, you're getting the best parts of the stack. And that to me is the whole thing, is like just having exposure to all these different best parts of a stack that you can get in, in this range, like having DK Metcalf, having Ridley, having Cooper with a Watson stack, having Debo, like I feel less good about that one, but having Debo in a Purdy stack, like that's how I view best ball. And you have player takes along the way. Like I have more player takes than probably anybody who actually cares about structure and all that stuff. But I think that, that's the difference between winning and losing, in my estimation. All right, so we got to take, I think this is a 3 tight end build because we did get Musgrave late, but we will see. Another guy, by the way, who people said was a dead pick for me a couple weeks ago from Pittsburgh, Darnell Washington, tremendous in camp so far, and also getting on the field a lot more because he can block. They had him blocking against TJ Watt the other day. He stoned TJ Watt in a couple straight plays. So he's also been catching a lot of passes here. I don't think he hurts Freiermuth necessarily, but I do think that Darnell Washington in this kind of build, I think, is a guy that you can take. But let's think this through. So what do we have at tight end that makes sense? We do have the bet on Buffalo. So let's take Mike Gesicki as a bring back for that. But I'm just going to put him in the queue for now. And then let me think about what I should do for the third one. I guess I could take Ritter. And I'm with 2. What's more important, a third QB or a third tight end? I mean, we have the bye week guys here. Musgrave and Gesicki is pretty thin, but it can survive. If Musgrave is good, it can survive, and I'm making a bet here that Musgrave is going to be good. So let's take Ritter. Atlanta, if Drake London makes a lineup, Ritter's likely making a lineup, so that should do that. So my final team here is going to be Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter. So we avoided the 2 week 6 bye weeks there. At running back, Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco, AJ Dillon, Zach Charbonnet, Elijah Mitchell, and Jalen Warren. Receiver, Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Watson, Drake London, Tyler Lockett, George Pickens, and Jaden Reed. And then a tight end, Luke Musgrave and Mike Gesicki. I think that's it. Crane was just hyping Hunter Henry over Gesicki in a tweet. It makes sense. I mean, Gesicki's going to lose snaps to Juju, but Hunter Henry will be out there each time. I still think I like Gesicki more, but I think they're both in play. Coaching malpractice and not use your tight end when he's the size of a Sherman tank and athletic. That's also true. So I was planning on doing 1 draft today, but I think let's hit 2. All right. So if you guys want to play along with me here, I think that's why people are waiting here, and our live viewer numbers are going up slightly. I will give you a chance to play along with me on Underdog. Use the promo code SPLASH, double your deposit up to $100. But get in there and let's do a second draft and see how we do on this one. But felt good about that team. Of course, whenever I feel good about a team on stream and then we push to a second draft, it inevitably bites me in the ass, and I build a team that makes me want to hang myself. So I can't think you can say that anymore. That makes me want to float away. Either way, though, I think this room will hopefully fill fast. We got 2 spots left, so get in there here. Play along with me on Underdog. But yeah, here we go. If OG Kenobi's stoked, then I'm glad. I'm giving you guys a chance to draft with me here because you didn't get the initial stream. But get in here because you can't see it because of my face, but there are 2 spots remaining. And I need to fill this, guys. Don't leave me waiting. Got to fill 2 more. One more spot. This spot must go. All spots in a Best Ball Mania draft must be sold, or else we can't draft it. I answered this one before, Justin, but I am not in the weekly winner streets very much. Just don't think it's worth my time personally as somebody with not a ton of time. But I get it. I get one of the week-to-week sweats and all that. Still waiting on this 1 spot, guys, by the way. You can't see it again because my face is blocking it, but would really love to fill this 1 spot. I feel like I'm out here like trying to sell fucking a used radio in one of those shitty stores in Times Square in New York. Like, come on, guys. What's it going to take to get you in this last BBM spot here? Or I also kind of feel like it's a bit that you guys are doing against me to not fill this 1 spot. There we go. It's filled. We did it because confetti here. Party favors. We filled the draft. All right. I'm in the 4 hole here. We got Jake Twitch, Storm, Trust X, The Process, Space Monkey Mafia. Ooh, you don't want to cross those guys. Welcome to the Space Monkey Mafia family. AM Zoe, Cheese Force Skull, Jelly Pump, Grant TC, the Icon, and again, Ryan Projo, Hit for Blood. Hit for Blood. Jesus. There we go. Guys, gotta give me your usernames too. I'm in there, Spags. I don't know which one you are, Charles. Are you Hit for Blood? Don't hit me for blood. Hit for blood. Oh, so Charles must be cheese here. That's the only other red badge. Only 3 badges in the room though, so we should get a pretty pure draft here. We'll see. Makes you want to Kermit. There we go. that is the internet meme version of it. It makes me want to Kermit. All right, see what we do here in the 4 hole. Jefferson, Chase. Take McCaffrey. Yeah, you knew, you little piggy wanting. Oh, wait, let's play before we make my pick here, which is not going to be a running back. Piggy needs Christian McCaffrey at the 3 hole. Sorry, I'll take Tyreek Hill, the best downfield receiver possibly in football history last year, getting another year in the offense, another year learning under Mike McDaniel, another year of him learning as well how to call plays, and you took Christian McCaffrey. Oh, what did that headline about him getting 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards give you a boner? Take Tyreek. Poor OG couldn't get in. Trying to deposit. You got to be ready. Got to have money in your account ready to go. But sorry you couldn't make it, OG. I was looking forward to getting you in a draft here. I thought you were already in. Honestly, you had a lot of time to do it. So that was as good of a shot as you're going to get. Of course, if you ever want to join one of my stream drafts, though, just hit the draft 1 minute before the stream time starts, and that'll usually give you enough of a shot to get in. I know some guys in our community have had success just timing that out. Any idea why Kelsey is fading lately? I got him at 9 in a Bulldog today in the second, and to turn into wow, that's a pretty big fall for Kelsey. I would guess age stuff. I mean, there's been nothing injury related. I think it's just people deciding that they don't want the elite tight end, even though obviously Travis Kelsey teams advance as well as anybody out there. So I don't get it personally. I don't think Kelsey's become a different bet. The one thing that's going to be weird, though, is it's going to be hard for them to stack Mahomes, I think, if Kelsey does fall to this spot a little bit more. Then you have to take Mahomes at the 13 pick, which would not be my favorite. So maybe just less Kelsey Mahomes stacks floating around out there on the home stretch. But I don't think he should fall. I think if it were up to me, I think it would be Jefferson, Chase, Hill, Kupp, McCaffrey, Diggs, Kelsey, Eckler. Like that would be my run out. Amon-Ra, though, go in the 9 hole, which I kind of think has been the right move this entire time. Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, those guys being second rounders, I think has always been a mistake, which is why I have a lot of Devontae Adams. In his defense, CMC getting 1K rushing and receiving gets me hot. It's just like, and it's possible. I guess it's possible that he could do that. He just has to be on the field so much. And I just don't think that's how the Niners are going to play it this year. They just don't need him out there. Like they are falling in love in Terry Davis Price in practice. Jordan Mason's been a solid body. Elijah Mitchell, I know everybody hates him getting hurt all the time, but he gets hurt. And then when he's playing, he is a monster and runs like Chris Ivory, like runs violently, hits holes like nobody else in the game. Also great analytically sound rusher as well. So like, where are these touches going to come from? Like, are you going to give McCaffrey getting older when you are a potential Super Bowl contender? You're going to give him enough touches to hit 1K? I just don't think so. I would find that very hard to believe. But it's in the range of outcomes. Like you could be right. And I still take McCaffrey sometimes, but I would rather make the bet on Mitchell. I don't think you should draft TDP. I don't think at this point, but maybe he can get there in the 18th round. Chris Ivory references not on my bingo card this afternoon. I mean, is he not the platonic ideal of like a guy who ran like everybody owed him money? Like those are the guys that I want out there. And if they're, again, the analytics have to check out too. It can't be a thing like people think Deuce Vaughn is like this elite evader. It's like, no, he had the lowest avoided tackle rate in any of the rookies in the NFL draft. So that has to match up still. But Chris Ivory, legit, I would love to go back, I guess, and see his numbers, but he evaded a lot of tackles, and he did it by hammering people and making them feel tremendous agony. Is this a room where we can get fun and flirty? Which I know is an odd thing to say out loud. All right. I'm going to take Chris Olave here. And I just want you guys to keep in mind, I'm going to try to get fun and flirty, though I know Jake Twitch might break up my fun flirtiness here with his picks on the turn. I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking yet, but I'm thinking something specific of a draft move that I can make here that would qualify as fun and flirty. So let's see. Zachary does agree, though, has almost 20% Mitchell. I mean, he's the exact kind of bet, I think, especially in zero RB builds. Like, that's the bet you make. Like, he's, Naheem Hines, but like last year with Jonathan Taylor, but a guy that's going to actually get the work if you did see McCaffrey go down. But what is Jake going to do here? Love the way Jake drafts. So Jake is getting out of type here, taking Calvin Ridley. Ridley getting steamed up a little bit by a good camp. Toe injury that he had, apparently not very long lasting, so that's a positive for him as well. Let's see what these next two picks do. Let's see. Metcalf. Well, we got some boys pissing in this room. I'll tell you what. Love to see it. What are we going to do? Trust the process. Take another running back, probably. No, we got Jalen Hurts at 27. A responsible move there. All right, so we're going to take Mark Andrews here. This is our fun, flirty move. And then we're going to try really hard to push Lamar down to 45. How do we do that? I don't know. I don't know how I can make this room not draft an unstacked Lamar, but this is our only shot to get this pairing at ADP. I was also thinking I could take Mark Andrews at 21 and take Lamar at 28, which I have done in the past to try to get that unique combo, that unique week 17 correlation for Dolphins. But people are getting falling Ravens a lot. So today will be the day I try to get the falling Ravens and it doesn't work out for me. But yes, you guys got it. Andrews. And then the flirty part will be Lamar, hopefully coming back. If you love something, set it free. And if it comes back to you, it was meant to be. Jonathan Taylor at 31 is pretty nuts. He was so bad last year, but God, I just worry about him being that bad last year, even in a bad environment. But God, he was so negative 0.1 EPA per rush, bad for Jonathan Taylor. Negative 1.3% rushing DVOA. It's not great, but it's, he's Saquon. A lot of running backs at the end of the day are Saquon Barkley. So keep that in mind. Where it's really bad for Jonathan Taylor, catching a pass, negative 0.42 EPA for target, which is incredibly bad, especially for a running back. And then a negative 45% receiving DVOA for Jonathan Taylor last year. He only played 11 games, so if you want to give him some cover, you can. But holy shit, he really was bad. And I think we need to say the quiet part out loud. Good at getting volume, bad at doing things with it. Spags, in real life, the Niners have lost 2 firsts, a second, third, and fourth for the team they have currently. They're absolutely in the win now mode. CMC just turned 27. The Niners will run him. No, it's not correct. They're not going to run him into the dirt to win because they don't have to do that. They have one of the best defense in the league, if not the best defense in the league. It's going to be either them or the Cowboys or the Patriots, because the Patriots every year just fucking scheme it out and make it work. The Niners were one of the best teams in the league last year, and that wasn't with generating turnovers. And that's the one thing that keeps defenses sticky year to year is like if they're really good, but they generated a bunch of turnovers, then don't expect it to happen again. If they were really good and they didn't generate a bunch of turnovers, then it's probably going to happen again. And nothing they've done this offseason, losing D'Amico Ryans is like the go-to guy there, not great. But then they get Steve Wilkes, who was fantastic, getting every little bit of mileage out of Carolina last year. There goes Lamar. Of course, you need Lamar when you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs. Damn it. Not flirty enough. But yeah, you don't run Christian McCaffrey to win regular season games. They can win the West at 10-7. Like they can absolutely do that. So why would you hurt McCaffrey when you need him to be there for potentially 3 rounds of the playoffs, if not 4? Like think about the team. Think about the team structure of it. That's the one thing I would say that I think is sometimes missing in some of that analysis is just like, Think about the overall construction. Who else is there? What are their end game goals? Are they a Super Bowl contender? And do they know for a fact they're a Super Bowl contender? Yes, they know that for a fact because they almost did it last year with nothing, with like nothing at QB. Yeah, I think, yeah, there we go. I mean, look, I'm not saying this, I'm not pulling these up because you guys are agreeing with me, but like, I think this is the logic that, that you'll take, that you should take. And it's also too, you're just taking the highest drafted part of an offense. So like you're going to do better by trying to get leverage against people taking CMC in the 3-hole. Like you're going to do better trying to take Debo and taking Ayuk and taking Kittle and taking Mitchell. Like, you know, I think that's the way I always try to draft, but you're very welcome to do that differently. So we didn't get Lamar, obviously. No more Miami parts left. I didn't take McLaurin last draft, and Terry to me, I'll dollar cost him up. Taking Terry happily in the 50s. Now he's safely in the mid 40s, and I'll continue to take him there every single time out. All right, shout out James. I appreciate you. Look, again, James, I've said it before, and I know James does push back a lot of my takes. I'm happy to have you guys push back, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing. And if you push back again, I'll read what you're saying, and I'll think it through. And you know, certainly things I can be right and wrong about. Like, you know, your take is as valid as mine in August. Like, you could say that. It's probably become a mantra of this show. But I do think for me, like I love trying to read the tea leaves of NFL teams and how they approach things. It's what got me on the rookie tight end stuff. It's what's gotten me on zero RB builds. And I think this year, just like expecting McCaffrey to be the McCaffrey of previous Carolina years, I just don't think it doesn't behoove him to do that. Okay. So we got Miami, New Orleans, Washington. Definitely not going to reach. I wish I'd gotten DJ Moore somehow. Brandon Ayuk, though, another guy here. I mean, we're going to talk about trying to get leverage on McCaffrey as a concept. Ayuk, just one of the most solid analytic receivers in the league. Obviously, great camp reports as well about him being unable to be covered. I guess could theoretically suffer if Purdy regresses and then they keep trotting him out there, or Trey Lance gets in and he also sucks. But Ayuk, to me, just one of those guys, I think a hidden gem amidst all these guys. 0.32 EPA per target, 16.4% receiving DVOA last year. He was great. He was unequivocally great. So I love the Niners. And this is part of why too, like I think about the Niners so much because they are such a great team. And like, I love great play callers. Like that's why we talk about the AR memeing that I've done, but like, I love them because of Shane Steichen being such a great coach. And a guy that I think is going to do really well as a head coach. And obviously Kyle Shanahan is like so above reproach that you should still want shares of San Francisco. I'd prefer to not play it through McCaffrey. Respectfully, I believe the Eagles and Niners will still be fighting for the number 1 seed. Therefore, I think CMC will play. It's not about him not playing. Like, I don't think he's going to give you zeros, but I think it's like, does he give you 20 touches a game? If they're smart, and the Niners are, again, one of the smartest teams in the NFL, they're not going to force McCaffrey to get 20 to 30 touches a game. And if he gets you 19.5 a game, like, yeah, they'll probably be really efficient. They'll be incredibly well schemed, but like, and they could be there for all 17 weeks. But I'd rather have the 10 touches going to Elijah Mitchell, just because they're not going to give McCaffrey tough through the tackles touches in week 17. Like, I just don't think that's likely. And also too, like, you know, how much are teams playing for a bye? Like they certainly are playing hard, but I don't think that's the thing where it's like, oh, we have to give McCaffrey 30 touches a day because we're playing for the bye week. That's not how teams think, in my estimation. I'm about a half hour behind another great stream, Spags. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you coming through, man. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Of course, if you are new around here, don't be afraid to subscribe. Hit the like button down below, please. Helps us get seen by more people. And, you know, to be honest, I've noticed a few sometimes downvote brigades come into the streams. And I know it's not that I'm putting up shitty shows. I know that we have some enemies out there. That's what happens. You know, if you do streams and you don't make enemies, are you really doing streams? But really would appreciate the likes here to help balance that out. I appreciate it. And James saying this is a little eye-opening for me, TBH. Okay, well, okay. We can make some eyes open here. Again, doesn't mean McCaffrey's a bad pick. It just means that there are ways to get creative and to treat, you know, anytime you can treat a thing that people are viewing as binary, a thing that everybody thinks is going to happen, and you can get around that and try to go a different direction while also getting leverage against them. Like that's why people win DFS tournaments like every week, is just, you know, building around preconceived notions and then trying to really succeed if those fail. And I think that's what best ball, you know, that's what best ball sometimes is missing, I think, in the overall process. Stacking Ayuk with late round Darnold would be fun and flirty. No. I don't think we're going to go quite there yet, but I just like having Ayuk in. Like, he was a guy that was on my finalist team last year for BBM. Just does his job. Just does his job, and he'll give you 15 to 20. He's not going to give you a lot of 40s, I don't think, just in that offense, but any receiver can give you 15 to 20 when it matters and give you 15 to 20 like any week. Ayuk is that guy for me. See what we can do here, though, with our next pick. Got 4 receivers and a tight end. Oh, is this the point where we keep pressing on Pickens? This is a pretty big fall for Madison. Pickens doesn't correlate with anything, but neither does Madison. Let's just scoop the value. We'll take Madison here. I don't know why he's falling. Madison falls in certain rooms. There was a stream a couple weeks ago where Pete and I did the double header for splash play, and then I got Madison as a value in one draft. He got Madison as an even bigger value in the next draft. I think just sometimes you land in rooms where nobody likes Alexander Madison, and I don't really know why. Sasso, welcome to the party here. Drafting team number 2, 6 rounds in. And obviously, this what a party. Here's how I can always make it a party. Just constantly blowing noisemakers. 2 at the same time. No, you wanted to tap Pickens for the second straight. Look, it's correct. It's correct. Maybe we still will. We'll see what Storm and Trust X the process do. Maybe they don't like Pickens. Does Madison previously going 100 plus turn you off on him now? No, because I got enough of him at that price point where I can dollar cost him a little bit the other way. But it's also just taking guys at face value for what they are. Like, if I feel like I didn't get enough Madison early on, I think that's certainly the move. It's also, okay, we do get Pickens back. Yes. Go off, George Pickens Queen. All right, we got our 5th receiver through 7. People say you got to get 4 through 7. I agree with that. But when you get 5 through 7, look how nice it looks. Team so far, Madison at a nice value here at running back. Receiver, Tyreek, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, and then a tight end, Mark Andrews. This is a start. And the Lord giveth. There we go. Sometimes you got to be patient. But that was why I didn't take Pickens. Yeah, I was like, Madison being a big value, a chance I can get Pickens back. I'll take that dice roll, especially because it's not like, I need to get more Pickens. Like, trust me, I've got enough Pickens. But I do think that's the kind of thing for me where I'll take the value then, and I'll try to let Pickens fall back to me. But I do think the Madison question is a good question, though, because, you could make the case where, like, if you had, I don't know, if you had somehow had the equivalent, like, let's say you got 30 lineups in early on drafted, where you got Madison past 100 in all of those, I think you make the case that you never draft Madison again. That said, it's also something where, like, you have more information when you're drafting these Madison teams now in August versus teams you drafted in May. So I would rather dollar cost him upward and just say, like, look, I got such good values in Madison early. Like, maybe those are super teams, maybe they're not, but I still want to draft Madison because I think he's still a good play. I'll draft him wherever he's going, just because, like, you can then build more accurate teams around him. So I would still err on taking the guys that do rise, but being mindful about it for sure. And you can make the case, like, if you didn't get any Madison early at cheap, maybe you just never take Madison, like, maybe. But if you got a foothold, I think you should probably try to dollar cost him upwards. Just got yourself a top 10 receiver in the 7th round. Congrats, Mr. Pittsburgh. Mr. Pittsburgh is speaking my language. I honestly, me and Pittsburgh going to be very close friends. One of my best friends lives out there, and we're already going to hang in Philly one weekend coming up. But if Pickens is like this guy for me, and if he ends up really being a player that, I feel like I've nailed the takes around and pushed back, by the way. A lot of people, it's going to hurt for some people out there, I think, with the takes they put out about Deontay better than Pickens. Pickens can only run go routes. Like, those have been wrong the entire time. But if they're really wrong, I might have to make a pilgrimage to go see a Steelers game live because my Pickens bags are packed. Do the Steelers play Green Bay at any point in Pittsburgh? Can I see Pickens and Watson on the same field? Those dudes, to me, like, I think next year it's Pickens somewhere around here, Watson somewhere around here. I would put a lot of money on that if you could bet on such things. Squad's dog rating jumped 60%. Biggins is a dog, man. When I saw that quote about him being like, yeah, you know, when they don't pass me the ball, I just want to maul people run blocking or pass blocking. Brings me a lot of joy. Like, you know, you can't put a price tag on those kind of things. I don't think you draft a guy because of that. But when he is analytically sound and he says shit like that, ooh, George Pickens after my heart. Is that actually a thing? Oh, I might have to do that. Oh, I'm doing stochastic streams. We haven't announced it yet. It looks like I'll be doing the deep dive show or the deeper dive show with Lofty and Ben Rasa for anybody who enjoys that one. Looks like I'll be doing that this year, but I don't know if we could say that publicly. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be doing it. Hopefully I didn't just ruin my chances of me doing it. Okay, we didn't get any Cleveland. I would happily take a falling Deshaun Watson here. We do have the Miami bet. I'm going to take Pacheco here. Again, not a name I'm dying to get to, but a little bit of a discount. And I do think it is more important for me to start getting running backs in than it is for me to take Rashad Bateman at this point. So we'll do that. But yeah, I really, this might be one for me to mark on the calendars because these are legitimately like the biggest bets I will have this offseason will be. And also Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren, I forgot about that. One of my other massive bets. So yeah, seeing Watson, Pickens, Jaylen Warren, Jordan Love, it's like a fantasy game made just for me. See what we get back here on the turn. The Packers got them easily. I don't think so. I think that's like a fun game. I think that's like a shootout-y game, unless the Packers D is good and the Steelers D is improved. But I don't think those defenses are that good, to be honest. Jake Twitch gets a nice falling Deshaun. Oh, he's got Amari too. That worked out well for Jake. Fucking Jake, man. Jake does a good job. But Mr. Pittsburgh, I know I love all you guys in the chat, but Mr. Pittsburgh might be my burner in Pittsburgh. If Warren hits a 50-50 split with Najee, don't be surprised. That's what I'm banking on, my friend. Yeah, Steelers are a fun team, man. This is something too where like back when I used to do the NBA streams for Stochastic every day, I would always watch like the shitty teams. And this is a couple years ago, but like the Suns I used to love before they really broke out. There's a lot of value in just watching, you know, lower rung teams and falling in love with them. Not the Pittsburgh's lower run, like they almost made the playoffs last year, but like these middle of the pack teams, especially where there's young guys and there's a chance for hope. Like I love that stuff. Like that's really exciting. And I think Pittsburgh to me, if that team is like anything good, like you could see Mr. Pittsburgh in chat, but like they're going to be really excited. They're going to be really amped up. And I think it's going to be a fun environment for players and for everything. All right. You know what? So we didn't get Tua. Tua went a little bit earlier than I would have liked. I think this is a good time to do a New Orleans bet. But, you know, we need running back so bad. Let's get the other side. You know what? I think this makes sense. Going to get the other side of Minnesota, Green Bay. A rare shot here where I don't have Christian Watson. But now we have Madison and A.J. Dillon together. I think that looks pretty good. Two guys here. And again, two running backs in the same week 17 game, I think is a kind of appealing week 17 correlation just because you're basically making a bet that, you know, this game, either if it has high scoring or just also it's a defensive matchup that one of the running backs will be dominating the clock. So I think to me, Madison and Dillon looks pretty good. Hey, Mr. Pittsburgh. All I have to do is suck up to Pittsburgh. And I got to remember, but shout out to Mr. Pittsburgh joining here. Appreciate everybody joining, of course. But now that I know Mr. Pittsburgh is my Pittsburgh doppelganger, I'm happy to have him here, especially, and happy to talk Pickens and Jaylen Warren whenever you want. But unless you like Deontay Johnson, then I got to go that way. 17% Warren, 2% Najee. Love to hear it. Yeah, Minnesota Green Bay is a fun one. I find it hard to believe that by the time that week 17 rolls around, that's not, you know, 49 point over under, if not a little bit more. And then you don't have to worry about weather, and you're getting Justin Jefferson in a track meet, Christian Watson in a track meet on turf. That's all great. That's another game too. Seattle, Pittsburgh though, you know, not to keep sucking up to Mr. Pittsburgh, but that's a fun one. You know, all the week 17 games are fun on paper right now, but ones where the weather is safe and also you get young guys kind of reaching their apex, hopefully. I think those are the most fun. Do I like Houston? Their D is better this year. They're young and hungry, better QB situation too. I think that is something where, so I'm actually getting a little afraid of how little Dameon Pierce I've taken. A lot of reports, and he actually said it to the media himself that he has been watching McCaffrey tape at San Francisco because a lot of what they brought over, which was really my thesis on Houston, that I have not made the smartest bet on. So this is something, if you want to get me admitting a thing that I wish I had been more aggressive about attacking. So CJ Stroud was great in college, like great, like really great at every level, making throws, high EPA player at every level, like intermediate throws, throws 10 to 20 yards, like throws 20 plus yards. He was great at all that stuff. And then you bring in Niners concepts because D'Amico Ryans is the head coach. Obviously, he's not calling plays. It's Bobby Slowick, who was the Niners passing game coordinator. And he apparently had a lot of why they were giving Purdy, free reign to kind of throw the ball downfield. I can tell you that CJ Stroud is a better thrower than Brock Purdy could be in 100 years of living. And even if he were able to throw every year and be full health and be 25 forever, Brock Purdy could not be CJ Stroud. Now they have that. So I think that you add in just Houston being better coached defensively, and then you add in these Niners concepts that are so effective, even if the talent level isn't great. And then you add in CJ Stroud, who's like a perfect vessel for all of it, that they could be a team that, I don't know that they can win the AFC South, but I think they can be in the hunt, kind of like the Falcons were last year, or for the NFC South. So I think bets on Houston are very solid, and I might need to force myself to buy Dameon Pierce a little bit more because I'm covered so well on the Singletary side. But there is there's a non-zero chance that Dameon Pierce becomes like the most bootleg Christian McCaffrey in the Houston offense here. And I think that's something that I should have accounted for a little bit more. And I would stack him up with Stroud too. Like I would draft, if I were drafting Houston, I would take Pierce with Stroud and with Nico, but I'm willing to not get Nico. I'd be willing to go to Tank. I'd be willing to go to some Robert Woods. Xavier Hutchinson, though, running with the first team for Houston. And that's dangerous because Hutchinson is like a big bodied outside guy that could do well. We're on the clock though, and I'll stop waxing poetic about Houston. Slight fall for P. Ryan here. Nothing jumping out in terms of correlation. This has not been my best correlation effort. I'm going to take P. Ryan here, though. Yeah. Vikings have such a good playoff schedule. Bengals week 15, Lions week 16, Packers week 17. Yeah, I don't, as I've talked about here, I really focus on the week 17 of it all because I don't want to give myself more data points that help me dilute myself on the thing that I think is most important. But definitely a good schedule there. I know Indianapolis has another good one. Definitely two teams that I think would stand out for that stuff if you're looking at it. Texas definitely a 3 to 5 year out playoff team to watch out for. I would say closer to 3. I think Stroud is instantly going to be Joe Burrow, like rookie Joe Burrow. But I think that he's going to be that pretty fast. And I think, too, he's the kind of QB where Stroud is going to make those players who are catching passes from him look a lot better than they actually are, just because Stroud has such great ball placement and he's so effective getting the ball in ways that are advantageous downfield that those guys are going to look a lot better as a result of it. Mechie, too. I forgot to mention Mechie. Mechie is one of my favorite Texans as well. All right, we're on the clock, though. 0-4-5-1. I mean, this is, I think, clearly we have the Niners bet. I think this is clearly another one where we take Elijah Mitchell and just don't even worry about it. So let's do that. Nobody at QB that I need to get now. All right, so we're at a 0-5-5-1. Madison, Pacheco, AJ Dillon, Samaje Perine, Elijah Mitchell. Nice values here. Obviously took Mitchell again a little bit ahead of ADP. Tyreek, Olave, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, and then Mark Anderson tight end. Love this team. I think this is not you adding Christian Watson. This is going to look like my ideal team in a lot of spots, but I think the running backs are a little bit different. Like I like Pacheco. I do think Pacheco is starting to come with a little bit more risk just because of the guys they have there and the chances of like a real deep committee backfield. But Dillon, Perine, Mitchell, Madison. Madison should be the starter, obviously, but all these guys have roles. All these guys can have more roles if the lead back goes down. All these guys can be bootleg Jamal Williamses where they can get goal line work. So this is the kind of zero RB room to me where if I'm not taking rookies, I think these guys are looking pretty good. Love CJ in college. Looking forward to his NFL future. I agree. I mean, I think he's an exciting player. I think this is a year too where people really want to push back on rookie QB production, where people want to push back on rookie tight end production. It's like this is the year where a lot of things I think can align because we are getting a lot of guys coming in from college this year who are so pure in terms of how they played in college and played against real competition in college as well. That I think there's a lot of guys, and the NFL too, just softening up, and the jump is a lot easier to make than it used to be. These guys, I think, can really matter this year in a way that maybe they didn't matter as much in the past. And obviously, AR is the big bet for me, but it goes for Stroud. Like Stroud can have you spike weeks. And if he has spike weeks, he's going to have spike weeks with receivers who went at least after 110, if not after 180. That ties back to what we were talking about earlier with elite QBs, where if Stroud gives you spike weeks, you are getting spike weeks for real fucking cheap for his pass catchers. Stopping at 5 running backs, I think you can make the case that I will, or that I could rather. I'll still probably take a 6th, though. I always like to get to 6 running backs. It's just a matter of like a sliding scale of where I'm taking them. If I take, a Bijan, if I take a Nick Chubb, I might be more inclined to go 5, but even then, I would just most likely take my running backs later on. Guys who could maybe matter in week 17, but don't have the early season chance to be there. But I like 6 to me feels like a number at running back that I would try to hit always. And then if you really spent draft capital early, then 5 running backs feels good. But I don't think I spent enough capital early here where like, if nothing aligned, I wouldn't take another running back, but I think something will align and I'll take a guy and I'll get to 6 and feel good about it. But I love 6. Who do you stack AR for with upside or with for upside? His appeal is his rushing ability, but that would mean his receivers underperform. Pretty much a field situation. Do you go naked? No. Everybody will go naked with AR. And AR has been improving every single day in practice. Just like the hope was that you give him a better scheme, you give him better coaching. Like he sucked last year at Florida throwing intermediate throws. It's like really bad throwing throws under 10 yards. I'll give you guys the numbers because I still have all my college data sheets here for things just like this. So AR was a negative 0.44 EPA per throw guy on throws under 10 air yards. So that was really bad. The issue with Florida's coaching was that they made him throw those throws 49% of the time. But in terms of throws 10 plus yards, he had a 0.49 EPA, which was right behind Bryce Young and actually ahead of CJ Stroud. On throws of 20 plus air yards, he had 0.78 EPA per throw. That would actually make him the best in the class behind CJ Stroud. So like AR was really good as long as you gave him a little bit more downfield work, and he's shown it in camp. So point being, I think Pittman's undervalued as a result. I think Alec Pierce is the easy stack that people took early on. I would say that one is also a good one, but probably a little bit duped. I would have no issue taking 3 Colts with him. I would think that, it's a little bit safer to take just Pittman and Pierce. But the way you're going to win with AR is obviously the rushing being huge and whatever. But it's also that now enough people have smartened up to AR being a world beater as a rusher. The way you're going to beat him is stacking him up and him being really good as a passer too. So I would take Pittman and I would take Pierce. And then, one of Woods or Downs, Kylan Granson. On the clock, though. All right, so we have, this makes sense. Kendre here. So we will take that 6th running back, which is what I was thinking about earlier. And I think we will then try to snipe off some nice players here at receiver to end it. But 6 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end, and maybe a QB coming up next. Maybe. I'm sweating this one, though, because I think I should be okay to get my QB. Someone tweeted out some stat about how awful wide receiver ones are on QB teams, pretty much saying don't draft Pittman. I saw that. That was Larky. I like Josh Larky over at 33rd Team. I think he does a good job. I think there are a lot of analysts right now that have a hard time thinking about things that haven't already occurred, like thinking about things and how some previous data from 10 years might not matter as much as what's happening in the league right now. I don't know. Anyway, I'm obviously taking Derek Carr here. I don't think I was hiding that very well. But Derek Carr, we have the bet on Olave. We now have the bet on Kendre Miller as well. We need a QB. So Derek Carr will be that QB for us to start it off. But yeah, like I think that I certainly get the logic of thinking that, you have 10 years of data, like, hey, you can point to it and go, hey, wide receiver ones haven't been good with rookie QBs, whatever. But it also doesn't account for the fact that the NFL and I'm not like a boomer about it. Like, I don't think there should be filthy like hits like whatever the ESPN segment was, the get jacked up kind of like things. Like, I don't think that should exist anymore necessarily either because of how bad it is for these guys' health. But the NFL is basically flag football. So like it's easier than ever for these guys to come in and create production. And especially when you are going into a situation where this is the best possible landing spot in terms of a coach for Anthony Richardson with Shane Steichen, and a guy who, again, helped Jalen Hurts really make a big leap as to a guy who was great in fantasy and also created value for his receivers. And Richardson comes in with a lot of things that he does well, which is just getting that ball downfield and then running if he's not doing that. The running is going to take some production away, but I think the way that you win with AR, because everybody's going to make the bet on the rushing. The way you win is like you stack them up a little bit more than you probably should. And if that pays off, then like, which is my big bet, if that pays off, then we will be, you won't be seeing me again. No, you'll be seeing even more of me. You'll just be seeing me wearing a robe and a crown to celebrate my best Ball Mania 4 win. Jack saying AR was the most misunderstood prospect in the draft, less raw than in a poor system. Pierce is also misused at Florida. I agree. And he also had nobody at receiver. Like it was Pearson and fucking, who's the other guy? Oh, I guess Shorter was there. Justin Shorter is in the league now on Buffalo. But like nobody who was good catching balls from him. And he made those guys look like guys. So yeah, but obviously I could do 5 days a week of AR streams. So we all know that by now. Can't found there's exactly 1 month till the first regular season game. So ready to crack open a beer and watch Red Zone with the boys. Yes. I mean, look, the fruits of the labor here of doing the teams and drafting teams since February. I mean, I guess January technically. Very excited for all of that to come here. And this is the home stretch, guys. So enjoy it while you can. And football is going to make it even more enjoyable coming up soon. Does Hunt visiting states make you lower on Miller? No, because I think they're now just looking for a camp body to replace Benjamin. And Hunt is dust. So he's even dustier than Kamara and Jamal Williams are. So I don't think so. But it's not great. Getting another addition would never be great. But I think they should, they have to kick the tires. You need somebody to take those reps. And going out, I just took one more body out of there to get those reps, especially with Kamara. Rushing QB's checkdowns are really low. I've heard her somewhere. Definitely go with Pittman and Pierce for deep ball correlation with AR. Yeah, the rushing checkdowns are bad. I think that's one of those things that's a little bit overrated. If I remember some data that I've seen. Okay, this worked out well. Rashid Shaheed right here for us. Perfect. So we had our 6th receiver here. Total fucking best ball guy in Rashid Shaheed. Would rather have Michael Thomas as the wide receiver 2 in a New Orleans stack. But Shaheed, again, Shaheed was too good last year in terms of the advanced analytics. Like it's impossible for him to be that good. But I'll read Shaheed's numbers just because they are insane. Shaheed's 0.79 EPA per target would be the best of any player in the NFL who ran more than 15 routes by an incredibly wide margin. And he also had a 44% receiving DVOA last year, did Rashid Shaheed. So better in best ball, but a very nice pick in best ball for Shaheed. Though he and Olave are kind of similar bets. If Michael Thomas is useful and doing things. All right, stop me if you've heard this one before, guys. I'm going to take Kenny Pickett. We got our guy Pickens again. Play the hits. So we got Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett at QB, running back Madison Pacheco, AJ Dillon, Samaje Perine, Elijah Mitchell, Kendre Miller, receiver Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, and Rashid Shaheed, and Mark Andrews at tight end. So you guys are seeing, again, this is, I think, me drafting pretty purely with the way I like to draft, where we're getting the piss out of the way early. We're hitting those wide receivers, then got running back, a nice little value here, and then starting our run at running back. Like this all checks out for the kind of build that I like to do. Alec Pierce had a decent rookie year with a horrible passing team. Yeah, he was actually, I think, a plus EPA player per target. Obviously, he's getting targeted downfield, so that kind of makes sense. But he was pretty good, relative to that environment that was so bad. So you can give guys grace if they're bad in a bad environment. But I think when guys are actually good in a bad environment, I think that stands out a little bit. So a little bit more, rather. So Pierce, one of those guys who was pretty good in a bad environment. Draft these 3 wide receivers to increase your chance of winning by 6'9", 6'9". Yeah, that is the kind of content that floats around out there. That much I can tell you. If I loved running backs more, I think I'd be getting more views. Did a few hound dog drafts and they were wild. I can see the influence of more casuals coming in. That is definitely the case. And also why too, to tie it back to the questions we had earlier, that's why you draft the entire offseason if you can. Like, obviously I know it's tough for people to get in. You don't have to draft like as crazily, like as, I do, or some of the real hardcores in our audience do, where they're drafting 10 teams a day from May on. To me, it's more like, hey, how do I max out? That's why I focused in on just the Best Ball Mania this year, and then also in DK's Millie Maker. And I'll do some of the side tournaments. But if you focus your main thing there, it's like you can draft, pretty steadily over the course of the entire offseason, and you get different ADP pockets. You then adapt to different news items and different information bases you have. And now, the information is just only going to get up for the next 4 weeks. Only more and more knowledge for everybody out there, whether they are a sharp drafter like you, or if they're not a sharp drafter. They're all going to get smarter over the next 4 weeks. On the wide receiver one stat, Garcon is pretty good that rookie season with RG3. Like Zach is saying, you can make the bets in the type of situation if you like the system and players. Richardson and Pittman does not necessarily equal Bryson Thielen. Yes, that's a good point. Those are completely different worlds too. And yeah, like I wish that the Panthers rather had not signed Thielen and Chark, because I think if we saw Bryce Young with Terrace Marshall out there for all the snaps, running all the routes, I think you would have had another one there where like that would be a world-beating combo overall with a rookie QB. But having Thielen there, having Chark there, having Hayden Hurst there, like it's going to make it tougher for Marshall to be really productive, even though he was very productive last year in the shitty offense too. Just bought Amazon put options this morning. Oh, there we go. Thanks. OG's offering trading advice. I appreciate it. I'm not a trader. I've had some money in index funds. That's all I do. I only have one room for knowledge in one thing in life at a given time. And currently that is fantasy football and football writ large. But yeah, shout out to OG Kenobi. Shout out to all you guys making your money. Make your money and bring it right back here to Best Ball Town and watch it die. No, hopefully you guys will have some nice bags from Best Ball. But you got to be prepared either way. Best Ball is an unforgiving sport. Signed the guy with 20% Trey Lance last year, similar amounts of Darren Waller. But would I have drafted those guys if I had the same process last year? I don't know. We're on the clock, though. 2661. Can use one more QB. Yeah. Can use one more QB. Nothing on the screen making me feel like I'm going to miss out by not taking it. So I am going to go Sam Howell here and lock that up. As always, anytime you can reach a little bit for Sam Howell and get him, you got to do it. But Howell, obviously, I have Terry McLaurin. A bet on Terry McLaurin is saying that one of Howell or of Jacoby Brissett is going to help him get there. And I think Sam Howell is going to get enough leash. Still have some concern. He's been really bad in camp. He and Ritter are the two guys you can point to who have not given you the great headlines. Even if Jordan Love has had some flaws, like at least there's moments where it's like he looks great out here. I've not heard Howell or Ritter looking great out here at any point. I'm bad at investing, which is why I do DFS. That is a good call, Zach. Zachary. Sorry, I don't know if you want to be a shortened Zach or not. Got to say the full name. Sauce my team. This is you, Charles, right? Your cheese. Let's see. I'm not great at saucy teams. Unless the team really pisses me off, I'm not going to be mean to it. You got Diggs and Waddle. That's good. Didn't get the Allen coming back to you. That's always the one that I tried to aspire to and got once and felt great. Travis Etienne. Well, I mean, you're taking Travis Etienne 100 picks ahead of Tank Bigsby. Would not ever do that. Justin Fields, though, nice recovery. You got Tua here. That makes sense with your Waddle. It's like, yeah, your team's okay. I'm not going to sauce it and say anything particularly mean. I will say, though, I said this to somebody recently who asked for a team review as part of the membership here on Splash Play. I really don't like unstacked DJ Moore. I think if you're going to take DJ Moore, you should take Justin Fields. I don't think you necessarily have to always take DJ Moore with Justin Fields, but any bet on DJ Moore is saying that Justin Fields is going to take a leap as a passer. If Justin Fields takes a leap in a passer, he's a top 3 QB this year. So I would say one thing for me is, like, I see a lot of unstacked DJ Moore. I wouldn't do it. I think you take him with Moore every single time. All right, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Washington. Got 2 rounds left. I see. Okay. Let's do this. K. Dotton will be our bring back for Derek Carr for week 17. Okay, and his bye works, week 5 bye. And then we'll either do a 7th receiver here or a 3rd tight end. I think a 7th receiver will be the move. Yeah, you know what? I think a 7th receiver will be the move. Okay, you're a Zach. Only people who call me Zachary are my parents when they are upset and teachers over the age of 70. There we go. That's true. Nobody calls me Christopher besides the occasional ex and my mom when she's been mad at me, which are 2 things, by the way, that should not have a lot of overlap. Your mom and exes when they're no, thank you. I just love gambling, whether it's stocks, poker, or fantasy. Does anybody have the hotline number, please? I think we still have it here. This is the Underdog one. I just ignore the Football Outsiders plug because I'm not doing that now. It must be 18 plus. There you go. Check out 1-800-GAMBLER down below. Underdog does care. They do want me to read that every single time out, but I forget. But I do always say that though, like never get above your skis or in front of your skis with your spending. Bankroll management is like the most important thing for whether it be for like casual players, day-to-day players, guys like me, or the pro players like my old pal Alex over at Osmo/Stochastic. Alex, who is Osmo over at Stochastic. Bankroll management, the most important thing you can do for yourself in any walk of life. So just keep that in mind for real. No bit there. But if you want to be, really irresponsible with your bankroll, hitting that join button down below. Be irresponsible with $4.99. Don't be irresponsible with $499. I think the Bears' offense will look completely different than it did last year. Fields will be released to let it rip. I don't know that I'm fully confident in it being completely different. I just think he can't be worse than he was last year. Fucking Grant. I was going to take Allen Robinson in the 18th round. Grant owes me nothing. It's fine. I don't see why he needs Allen Robinson specifically, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I think Allen Robinson, by the way, officially draftable. Officially draftable. I know people don't want to hear that. Getting nice reviews in Pittsburgh. Apparently been an important part of what they're doing in the red zone. The better bet is Pickens and even Deontay Johnson and even Pat Freiermuth. But I do think that still an okay bet to make an Allen Robinson in the 18th round at this point. Calvin Austin, yeah, you know what? He's in the mix. You can make the case. I think he's now more of a contingent value if Allen Robinson, regresses again and is useless. But Robinson's been like a leader. Mr. Pittsburgh in the chat may know better than me, but everything I've read has been that he's been a leader there. They've really liked him, that he's been a guy that they're really going to and treating with respect and reverence. So yeah. Take Washington. I don't think we need a 3rd tight end here. All right. You know what? Let's go with the deep cut. I like this guy. I want to get a few more shares here. And we have the bet on New Orleans. So I'm going to take Trey Palmer. Sick one-handed grab that you can find on social media of him. But really a guy that I think Tampa Bay's motivations may be questionable by the time week 17 rolls around when they are playing New Orleans. And if that is the case, I think that Trey Palmer will be meaningfully involved. And even if it's not the case, I think Trey Palmer might be involved. So my final team here, going to be Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell at QB. So we did go weaker at QB, but we got 3 there because, again, we have the stacks to go with it. So I think that's a move I would like to make a lot. Alex Madison, Isaiah Pacheco, A.J. Dillon, Samaje Perine, Elijah Mitchell, and Kendre Miller at running back. Good mix of values here with Madison, of course, being the most prominent value we got. Tyreek, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, and Trey Palmer here to round it out at receiver for 7 bodies. And then a tight end, Mark Andrews and K. Dotton. Honestly, you could have made a case that I could have taken a Tampa Bay QB with that, but your guess is as good as mine if it's going to be Baker or Kyle Trask. I would think that it'll be Kyle Trask by the time week 17 rolls around, but if Baker starts, maybe he's good enough to keep it afloat. Probably not. Either way, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with me here today. Been a lot of fun doing these drafts, and I always come in with a goal of doing one draft, and I enjoy hanging out with you guys so much. I do too. So that's unfortunately the nature of the beast here. But please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe down below, leave a comment as well if you're watching after the fact. I always reply to every comment on here. I'll be back tomorrow with Pete, and then we'll be hopping on here on the Splash Play channel right afterwards after our 10 a.m. draft. So come hang out with me then. But of course, 5 days a week of drafts here on Splash Play. That is going on until the season starts. And I really do appreciate all of you hang out with me. Follow me at Chris Spags. I will tweet out a fantasy football take coming up this afternoon. Probably I'm gonna do it right after the stream ends. I'm gonna tweet out a fucking take. I'm gonna figure out what it is. I'm gonna do it. But follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And thank you to all of you who hang out with me and will hang out with me in the future days and weeks to come. I appreciate all of you. Enjoy your drafts, guys. Good luck. And any questions, let me know. See you guys soon. Bye.